Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. In today's video, I'm going to do something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and that's talk about custom knives in general. So I'm going to borrow the format of another YouTuber named Nick Shabazz, and he talks about the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly, and I can't think of a better format to tackle custom knives as a whole than that format. I'm also going to incorporate preliminary thoughts and tips towards buying custom knives at the end. So let's jump into it. With all the custom makers here in front of me, they do embody all the good things that I'm going to talk about, none of the bad. So as we're going through, if I'm handling one of them while I'm talking about something bad or ugly, please don't think it has anything to do with any of these knives. So first and foremost, custom knives are not essential. I would argue that today's top-notch production companies are actually better than 90% of the custom knife makers out there, if not more. So if you're looking for good fit and finish and good action and good quality, you don't have to spend this kind of money to achieve it. Again, the top tier production companies will get you that, no questions asked. Also, your self-esteem should not be based on the crap that you can buy or cannot afford to buy. If you're one of those people, I feel sorry for you. We'll leave it at that. Third, custom made has absolutely positively nothing to do with the quality of the build. If someone says, oh, it's wonderfully made or whatever because it is custom, they're not even on the same planet, right? There can be terrible custom knives and there can be marvelous custom knives. Again, the fact that it's custom has nothing to do with quality, so I can't beat that over the head enough. 4, custom doesn't necessarily mean handmade. Some of the knives in front of me are completely handmade, like this one. Some of them employ CNC technology. So, again, it doesn't necessarily mean handmade. Make sure you do your research if that's something that you value. My concern is the finished product. All right, moving on. This video will have primarily general information. I realize that everyone in the comments below would have a certain situation where this maker or this build or whatever doesn't fit the mold or doesn't apply. Awesome. Share that in the comments below, or share any general insights or information that you guys have regarding custom knives in the comments below after you've watched this video. And if I've missed something, the valuable comments I will pin, because I hope this can serve as a reference for people moving forward who want to get into custom knives. So let's talk about the good. So within knives, you can have some piece of junk that you pick up at the gas station. It might cut for you, you may have to reassemble it every time you want to use it, and that is a cutting experience, right? So there are experiences and then there are tasks. So, you can pick up any knife and you can cut something and you can complete a cutting task, but when you have a knife that you truly enjoy or that's really well made or that has amazing quality, action, materials, ergonomics, etc., it can turn a cutting task into a cutting experience. And I realize some of that is marketing, but if you look at cars, you could go on a used car lot and pick up a $2,000 car. It'll probably get you to work, right? Or you can go find a car that handles amazingly well, is comfortable, is quiet, and that turns a driving task into a driving experience. So hopefully I've conveyed that well. But when you have a knife that you love, cutting tasks become cutting experiences. Each time you take it out of your pocket and you open it and you cut what you need to and you put it away, there's a certain level of enjoyment or satisfaction that comes from having, an amazing quality knife. So that's one of the good things about custom knives, is if it's something that you enjoy for any number of reasons, whatever it is that you value, it can take that cutting task and turn it into an enjoyable experience. Now, another good thing is that custom knives let you create something unique, something different, something exciting. So most makers will have anywhere from 1 to perhaps 4 models that they work on at a time. And they'll let you essentially go through and select the materials, inlays, blade steel, texture. They may have different blade shapes that are available. So they'll let you essentially customize within certain parameters one of the knives that they're currently making. So you can make something your own. It can be really cool, can fit you or fit your collection the way that you want it to. But by and large, that's the way that custom makers work these days. It's not an unlimited selection of, you give me a napkin drawing, I do it. but you can make it unique within that set of parameters. Now, having something unique to share with others is really enjoyable. So just because you buy something doesn't necessarily mean that your intent is to show it off. It might be something that you enjoy and you really enjoy sharing with others who value knives. And with the various shows and the local meetups that I've gone to, that's always felt like the case. It's always been, hey, I really love this, I want to share it with you guys, and it's an enjoyable experience for everyone. I've never really had those interactions where someone was like, hey, I've got this knife and you can't afford it and blah blah blah, and I'm cooler than you, I'm better than you, and I've just never had those experiences, right? So sharing with others is really one of the remarkable things about hobbies, knives, baseball cards, watches, whatever it might be. Sharing with others is truly enjoyable. So that's a good thing about knives, because when you've got something unique that no one else has, it's something that other people are going to want to experience. Whereas if you both have the same exact CT, you're not going to ask to handle your friends for any length of time other than maybe, hey, it's got the exact same action that mine does, and that's kind of it. So anyways, now what's truly great about custom knives? So we talked about cutting tasks, cutting experiences. When you incorporate or you buy a knife from a maker that you truly enjoy, the knife can become an extension of your friendship with that person. So let's say there's a local maker, you've been to their shop, you've seen them make knives, perhaps they even let you grind something. What if you got to go and watch them make your knife? Every time you pull that knife out to use it, you would enjoy the action and the materials, and then you would probably fondly remember either your friendship with that person or watching them make it, and it brings a whole new level of enjoyment to that particular piece. It's like inheriting a watch from a father or grandfather. Yeah, you look down and it tells the time, but there's so much more to it because of the relationship that it represents. And that can be the case with custom knives. Shane Atwood is a local maker here in Utah, and there's something fantastic about supporting makers local to you or owning their knives that makes it really enjoyable. So, task, experience, relationship, that's kind of the tier of enjoyment that I view. Now, if you do find a maker who's willing to make you a knife just completely from the ground up, it was something that you envisioned in your head, and they were willing to execute down to the absolute minute detail. It's a difficult process for everyone involved, but if you can have that made and you can execute upon the vision in your head, that's something truly incredible that obviously you would certainly value. Now, let's talk about the bad, because as much as I've talked about, what's great, the uniqueness and the experiences and the relationships, there's certainly some bad things and some ugly things that go on with custom knives. So bad. First is the price, right? They're just expensive. And so, part of that is going to be the material choice, the amount of handwork and time. I mean, a machine making it on an assembly line versus a guy in his shop doing a couple parts at a time or by hand. I mean, just the scale of economics, right? It's going to be more expensive. And is that a bad thing? Kind of, yeah. I mean, it is. It's, we'd love it if we could all own custom knives and they were $200. I mean, that'd be great, but that's just not the reality when someone is making something one by one in their shop, or each knife is, completely one-off. So anyways, price is kind of a bad thing. Some of those prices are hyped, and some of them are just simply expensive because of what it is. I'll let you guys draw your own lines in the sand. Another bad thing is wait times. Assuming that their books are even open, it might be a couple years before they get around to you, and it's definitely going to be longer than they state. If they state, hey, it's a year, I'd anticipate at least a year and a half. If they say 2 years, maybe it's going to be 3. So that can certainly kind of suck as you're sitting there waiting for a knife to be made. Or worse yet, it might be that their books are completely closed and you simply can't get on them to have them make you a knife regardless of time. And so you're forced to chase them down on the secondary market, where prices can be astronomically higher than the table price from the maker. So that can also be a bad thing. Another bad thing can be poor communication. While the knife is being built, or while you're waiting to hear when your knife is being built, or you send a knife in for repair, bad communication certainly can be extremely frustrating. Been there, done it. It is not fun. And the hard part is that, some makers are so busy in the shop, grinding or assembling and making what could be 10 hours a day. Sometimes they come in and they don't want to tackle the emails or the direct messages or any of those things. And so, again, it is what it is. Another thing that can be bad, not always, is the warranty work. I sent a knife in once. I was quoted a week. 6 months later, it came back. I was pissed. I was so pissed. Anytime I'm told a week, I anticipate probably 2 to 3, right? But 6 months was way beyond that. So again, warranty work can take much, much longer than you think, especially if there was a problem and it's not your fault and it goes back. There can definitely be some unhappy people. And the thing you have to keep in mind is when a maker is doing warranty work on a knife, he's not making a new knife, he's not making money, right? Unless he charges you for the warranty work, and that's a whole different topic. So it's not really high on a lot of makers' priority lists, so that can be a bad thing. Now let's talk about the ugly stuff. So, theft. New maker comes out, takes a bunch of people's money, and then they disappear. It could be a company too. I mean, it continually happens, unfortunately. So that's why I'm very adamant about not prepaying completely up front for any knife, even 50%. Makes me a bit leery. So theft, that's an absolutely ugly thing. Another thing that's ugly is cliques or groups, be it Facebook or Instagram. Sometimes makers, and this isn't the case as much as it used to be, but they will only sell knives to people in their friend group. And so if you want one of the knives, you have to try to go through one of the friends. They're probably going to rake you over on the price, or you simply can't get the knives because you're not one of the cool kids in the group. And again, anytime there is an issue of supply versus demand, there's always going to be unhappy people, but when you only sell to your group or your clique or whatever, that can be a really ugly thing. Another ugly thing can be makers who have egos larger than life. If they view selling you a knife as them doing you a favor, then it's all downhill from there. And there have certainly been makers, and probably still are makers, that think that they're God's gift to knife making, and they treat their customers like crap. That's a really ugly thing. So another thing that's ugly, I'm just going to call high school drama bullshit. So here's an example. Friend of mine recently, and if you know the situation, for the love of God, don't put it in the comments below. He was direct messaged or private messaged by someone we're going to call Knife Bro A. Knife Bro A messaged my friend and said, "Hey, what do you think about this maker and his lotteries? Do you think that they're fair?" My friend responded, "It's kind of odd that the same people keep winning the lotteries." So Knife Bro A ran to Maker, told Maker, "Hey, this guy says your lotteries are rigged." And then my friend got banned from that group and essentially blacklisted by the maker. So a couple problems with the situation. One, Knife Bro A solicited the comment and then ran to the maker. If I had to guess, I'd probably say Knife Bro A talked to maybe 5 or 6 different people before getting the comment that he wanted. So he could run to the knife maker, act like he had the knife maker's back, essentially bro it up with the knife maker and get in on his good side. Now, is that the maker's fault? No, because obviously the maker wasn't aware of the situation. But that's the kind of high school drama bullshit that can happen. And again, issues of supply versus demand, and it kind of ties into the whole click thing that we talked about. So again, I don't blame the maker. It's just one of those ugly things that can happen with custom knives. Now, the last thing is, again, we've talked about different levels of quality. Again, there have been some truly terrible custom knives made that no one should pay for. That's an ugly thing. So now that we've talked about kind of the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly, I'm going to tell you guys my tips. 1, do your damn research. Do not jump into a knife not knowing anything about the maker, their warranty work, their return policy, any of those things, because you were lazy or you let the hype get the best of you. I mean, that's on you. You have to do your own research and know what you're buying, because again, with a custom knife, the maker is it. If you talk to some jackie in customer service, you can't call back and talk to someone else. I mean, you're stuck. So there's that. 2, don't chase the hype. 3, find makers that are under the radar or perhaps not as popular as they once were. Perhaps they were super popular, popularity died off because they've been around for a while, but they make really high quality custom knives. That is the treasure trove, because they will be willing to talk to you, they'll be available, you can get knives from whenever you want. That is the gold standard. Last, go to shows, do get-togethers, get together with other knife enthusiasts, listen to their experiences and their stories, because they will tell you things in person that they will not put out over the internet about certain makers, about issues they had, about who the best guys are. I mean, really that information and those friendships are invaluable, because you get good information, you get to experience a lot of custom knives without having to throw out the money or take that risk initially, and it just makes the hobby so much more enjoyable. So anyways, guys, that is, again, kind of a really high look at custom knives in general. If you have specific things you want to add, please put it in the comments below. But don't go into any details with names. Let's keep this as hopefully a resource potentially for people moving forward on, in general, what can you expect. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Again, comments, questions, put them down in the comments section below. You can always follow me on Instagram as Epicsnugglebunny. And as always, more videos to come. Take care.